Welcome to the What's Your Weird Story podcast.
Everyone has at least one good story.
And some of us have stories that are just to the left of normal.
We're interested in the ones that push the boundaries of what we can perceive.
Stories that defy explanations.
Stories with an air of mystery.
Stories we might not share
for fear of being thought of differently.
But don't worry, we're all friends here. So, what's your weird story?
Hello, Weirdsville. How's everybody doing out there today? Looking forward to an exciting show today. I'm here with your co-hosts, Adam Beebe and Barry Johnston. Hello, guys.
What's up?
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for calling in. Jeff is calling in from Sedona, a very weird place here on this planet.
Yeah, we've got some vortexes out here that I've yet to experience, but I'm going to see if I can't jump in one of those at some point during this trip.
He told us about a UFO tour that his wife wants to go on, where they're guaranteed to see a UFO or money back, and we're trying to push him. We're trying to push him to do that.
Do it. Well, the voice you just heard there was our star of the show today, Mr. Corey. Corey, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Hey, Corey, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Corey is an old friend of mine. We've known each other for probably about, I'd say, 12 years now. We met in law school. Corey is from Texas, South Texas. He now works with my wife, and so we've never lost touch. We've been good, solid friends for the last 12 years, and we're excited to have him on the show today.
Excited to be here.
You sound it.
Excited to be here.
All right. There we go. Okay, well, should we go ahead and kick this off, guys?
Let's do it.
Okay. Corey, thanks for coming on today. What's your weird story?
Well, so as Jeff said, I'm from like a small town in Texas, just south of Houston, and ghost stories are a big deal down there. You know, there's Bailey's Prairie, the lady in the gray taffeta dress. Anyway, so I grew up in the house with my mother and my grandmother. They always were looking for paranormal activity. So like they would spend hours just recording, like just on the old cassette tapes, just like when they'd leave their house and listen for it, because my grandmother lived in some old creepy house, and we always lived in creepy houses. But I mean, you wouldn't believe how many tapes they'd play to do that. So growing up, it was always like, we're always kind of looking for ghosts and, you know, playing on that side of it. My mom always, it's a little weird. It's a weird small town shit, but like would always say that she used to be in like dark magic, but she didn't anymore because she had found Jesus, and now they were just basically ghost hunting. So we were all part of that. But anyway, growing up,
it sounds like a kind of a fun place to fun environment to grow up in with your grandma trying to find ghosts and recording on those tapes and stuff. And I can't even imagine either one of my grandmas, and Barry and Jeff have both met them. They're both passed. I can never imagine either one of mine doing anything near.
They loved it. That's like what they did. They smoked cigarettes and listened to those tapes, man.
Wow. That's fun.
Right?
That's fun.
So awesome.
And they always,
awesome.
We weren't allowed to talk about it in front of my grandpa, because my grandma used to always say, "I'll get in trouble if your grandpa knows we did this, so don't say anything about us taking all these."
That's awesome.
Anyway, so I grew up in this like always looking for ghosts kind of thing. But when I was about I had to be in kindergarten, so I guess that's what, you're 6 years old or 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, my parents, we moved a lot. We moved into this rental house, and it just kind of we just had a lot of weird stuff go on. One of the first things I remember is it was like so I'm a family of 6, so there were 2 girls, 2 boys, and then my parents. So this was like, I guess, a really 3-bedroom house, but they'd made it into 4, like where the den connected between mine and my sister's room. Anyway, we'll get to that point. Anyway, I remember one time walking by my brother's room, which was really truly the master bedroom to the house, And the room, like, I don't know how to describe it because you're only listening to my words, but it was like almost like a fun house, just going back and forth, tilting. I know you can't see my hands on the podcast, but I'm, just rocking back and forth and walking by it. And I remember just thinking, was I seeing that? I remember telling my mom, Mom, I went by that room and it was shaking. It was crazy. It was like the whole room. It was just kind of a scary, weird feeling.
So it's like what you're describing it sounds like it's where, like what you said at the fun house, where you go in and the room is moving back and
rocking.
Shifting.
But I was outside the room, so it was just from the door frame, like in, and it was just a weird thing. And I remember telling my mom how freaked out I was about it, and she's like, "Well, you're just seeing things."
That's wild.
That is weird.
Wow.
And so then another time, this was a weird one. My brother, we were kids. Obviously, I was probably 6, so he's probably 12 or 13. I think he was on the toilet. My mom had, back then you decorated your house with all that Avon crap. It was in a blue bottle, and you never knew what was in it. But it was always in the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Well, he was, I guess, taking a dump and playing with like a bottle of it, and then he spilt it all over himself. And I remember telling my mom that he did it like he felt like somebody like pushed it and forced it on him, and of course it like burned him like fire because only God knows what was in an Avon bottle. I still don't know. I remember the bottle, but I'm not sure what the hell you did with it. Like
mostly alcohol, from what I remember, man.
My grandmother, my grandmother used to sell Avon. She was a big Avon lady, and so her whole house was Avon stuff, and she had a room, and it was just shelves of stuff, and I'd always gravitate toward like it looked like toy stuff, but they're filled bottles with like whatever it was, whatever the stuff was,
Yeah, they had all the shaped bottles and like you
had
a dog
guns.
and you took the head off and then pour it out.
Yes.
Right. That's
but
right.
they had some that were like guns mounted to like a wooden board even, and that was for him too.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. That's great.
Anyway, so then around the same, we didn't live in this house very long. I bet we didn't live in this house but like 6 months. This was like it started to turn into like one of those Amityville horror houses where you just kind of wanted to get out. One day my little sister came home from school, and as she walked across, we had like, I guess from the entryway through the dining room kitchen area to the back to where her bedroom was, the whole ceiling caved in.
What?
Like the whole thing, like it was the square tiles. I don't know if you remember that also in the 80s, like they would replace the ceiling with, but it came in right after she walked by. Like she had it in her hair after having walked through that room.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then one night, because I was trying to tell you earlier that my bedroom was like connected to like the door to my bedroom, you had to go through my parents' bedroom, if that makes sense. It was kind of like a back den. I mean, I'm not telling you we grew up in some lavish house. I'm telling you my parents lived in one of the living rooms. I'll tell you something. And I remember laying in bed because I could see my parents, like where I laid to their bed. And I remember waking up scared to death and looking into my parents' room, and like this white premonition, like rising out of my mother, looking over towards me, laying in the bed with like, it was like a, I don't want to say what, because the premonition was white, but the eyes were like a yellow. I don't even know how to describe it, but you could see it was like her, but like a gray, but like the eyes were like yellow, just staring at me as I'm laying there in bed.
Holy shit.
It was super freaky. Imagine 6 and your mom looks at you with like a demon inside of her.
So,
damn.
So it was, I guess it was full bodied. Like you could see that it was your mom with gray skin and glowing yellow eyes.
Well, I knew it was my mom's body there in the bed, but like whatever it was, like looked over at me, like sat up and looked over at me, and it was like the scariest like seconds. I'm sure that I sat there and just held my eyes closed and prayed that it would go away.
Wow.
That's freaky, man.
That is, man. Did it look like your mother, or was it complete?
All I could see was like the gray of it, so it wasn't like I could see like its face and like her features. It was just the eyes is what I could really see.
Wow.
So it was kind of like a mist or something, or it's. I mean, I know you said you were 6, so it's been a while, but I mean, obviously it's been impactful.
I don't mean to say like a mist. It wasn't like foggy and I couldn't tell the line. Like I could see the shape, but it was more I don't know, pale, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
couldn't really, those eyes staring at me, I didn't look at it all that long. It was pretty damn terrifying, actually.
Understandable. I
Yeah,
mean,
no
really.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I don't know, under the covers or out the door or something, but
Right.
I would have done.
I couldn't get out. I had to go through that room. It was terrifying.
Is
And
there
then one time,
is-
so this is the same house.
Uh-huh.
And so as we lived there, we find out that the guy who apparently had lived there before us, who had built the place and lived there for years, had actually died in the front yard trying to pull a stump with a tractor, and he pulled the tractor over on himself.
Oh shit.
Oh, wow.
Shit.
So he had died there. So then we find that out as we're going through this. Well, one night, this is my poor sister. I can't even imagine. She was 10, I was 6. This is my middle sister, so the one right above me. Yeah, she'd be about 10 or 11. When I came home, and mind you, this was like 30 years ago, so it's hard for me to completely remember. But I guess my mom had started talking to her, and she was refusing to talk to her, and was only like staring at the lamp, like the light in the lamp. And she wouldn't, and then she would say a couple of just like really mean. I remember the way my sister looked. It was scary for me being a kid. Like, man, something's really wrong. Well, it turned out. So my mom, my grandmother was super religious, and my parents, like I said, she used to do black magic, but now she was in like this full gospel, hooping and hollering, everything but dancing with snakes kind of church. And they may have been dancing with snakes. I don't know. Come over, and they determine that my sister is demonically possessed.
What?
Yeah. So we have my grandmother, who is like the sweetest, most like Southern Baptist woman you could ever meet. Like, the good food, it just so wholesome. And then the preacher comes over, and they commence an exorcism on my sister to get that demon out of her. And it was violent, man. I mean, they were like laying hands on her, she's shaking, screaming, and they're, rubbing the oil on the doors and screaming for the demon to get out and to leave the house.
Oh, man.
I'm 6 years old, man.
Yeah.
Dude, that is traumatic, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine Hannah watching y'all do that.
Well, I had when I was growing up, I had is my dad's cousin who was what you'd call a charismatic minister, what you're talking about, speaking in tongues and stuff like that. And he took me to one of his services, and he would take trips over to Africa to basically exorcise people. And so my dad takes me to one of these services where they're all like jumping around and they're all like talking in tongues and stuff. And it freaked me the fuck out, man. I didn't have any idea what was going on. I was just like, what is this, man? Like, I had no context for it. So I'm sure, like, as a young kid, watching that and then watching your sister being exorcised is like, that just doesn't, there's nothing about that computes. There's nothing about that makes any sense,
Right.
Good.
Now, I'm guessing that her head didn't spin around or anything like that. But do you remember if she was speaking other languages, or she had that demon voice, or threw up, or anything weird? Like, I can
remember her looking at me, which was scary as hell. Like, really? Just like something's going on. Like, I don't know what it is. If it takes a preacher and my grandma beating her to death with, Jesus, do it.
Is that something that I'm sorry, Hub? Is that something that just all of a sudden came on? Like, just boom, it happened? Or was this a slowly gradual process? Really? Just happened?
It just happened, Wow. She just, Mom was talking to her, and she got locked into that demon's light in that lamp. And
wow, man.
It got her.
I don't think we haven't had one of these stories yet.
I don't think we've had any kind. I expected some possession at some point, but I didn't realize we haven't had it yet. Yeah. Wow.
It was legit. Like, my sister always said she couldn't remember anything from that. She said she remembered staring into the light, and that was like all she could remember.
Man.
how long, okay, so they notice something's going on, right? I mean,
Right.
how long did it take for them to call in the preacher? Was it a couple days, or I mean, did it happen that night? Because I mean, you'd almost have to think, well, maybe she's just tired. Let's put her to bed,
Right.
and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Was it the same day, or what was the deal?
First, I appreciate the question of what do we see first if she's just tired?
It's logical. It's a
I don't
logical
know if
question.
anybody thought, you know what? Maybe she's hangry.
Let's get her a peanut butter jelly sandwich and see what happens. here.
Maybe I'll snap that demon out of her. Well, it was that same evening. Because I can remember that it was coming home from school to that evening. I mean, I think I was able to get up I was still up. I was 6 o'clock, but there's a lot going on in the house. They probably forgot to put me to sleep. There's a demon here now. So, but I remember it all being resolved that night. Like, obviously none of us could sleep until that demon.
I would imagine there's a lot of commotion going on with the casting out of the tainted souls that have there.
Oh man, it was so bad. I remember like the reading from the scripture and this, he would be speaking in tongues, and my grandmother was just trying to I guess be the good cop. I don't know. I'm not sure really how you attack a demon through a person, but they did it.
Wow.
So, but it was some, and as I realize now in my older age that not everybody has experienced an exorcism.
No.
I feel like that's a weird story people should hear.
Yeah. Well, it was a story, especially in the 80s, that you heard a lot about, but you never actually sort of saw, you're never in the presence of it. But you heard a lot about this stuff. I think some of it was from the Satanic Scare, that whole thing that we had in the 80s with the, people against heavy metal music and, but I remember vividly my dad, for whatever reason, man, he made me watch The Exorcist when I was like 5 or 6 years old. I was really young, man.
Shit.
And he made me watch that movie to scare me, I think, in order to sort of say, hey, if you don't have God in your life, this is what happens, But to this day, I can't, it was so fucked up. I still can't watch that movie. It's really disturbing. I mean, it's such an intense movie, man. But it was you would hear these stories about that happening, and it just used to just really scare me to the core that something could come into your body and take control over you, and there was nothing you could do about it, and you just have to fucking pray that whoever's trying to get it out of you knows what they're doing.
Yeah, dude. You lived it, man.
Yeah.
You have to just pray that whoever's playing that demon out knows what they're doing.
Yeah. or else they'd get killed or whatever. Remember that priest that threw himself out the window. It's God dang, man. But
I don't remember it being that violent. I do remember them sitting on her and holding her down.
wow.
So as this 10-year-old girl, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's what's weird is if my family went on that wasn't anything weird that had happened. Well, what'd y'all do last week? Well, Mandy got that demon, and that took most of the week.
Yep, they spent all night exercising her. We couldn't even watch Growing Pains.
Corey, you don't think that maybe they hit record on the tape recorder during that, do you?
You know what? I should ask. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's still a box. They preserved all those tapes.
Wow.
Man.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Okay, to go back to the house a little bit, so the one guy died, right? That lived there before. Do you know of any other stuff that happened there before? Do you know any other history of the house?
That was all I ever remember knowing about the house. And after the Exorcist, we did move.
Okay.
I think then it was time.
Yeah.
And was your sister ever invaded? Maybe that's not a good word. Was she ever? Did she ever come up with any kind of the forces of darkness again?
No, she did die at an early age. Maybe that demon
Oh, damn, dude.
Oh,
I don't know. You got to look at life. Did that have something to do with it? We may never know.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's true.
sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
She never really got bothered again. We lived after that. We moved to this it was this old, big ranch house. It was still no Borden Milk. That's a Texas brand. But have you ever heard of Borden?
Yeah.
So it was
Oh, yeah.
So it was their big family ranch. It was like 300 acres. Well, we rented it, the house part that had like the maid's quarters and the garage and all that. It was kind of a spooky house because you were in the middle of nowhere. And she said once that she always heard a ghost playing "Na Na Na Na." You know that song? Hey.
Yeah.
Good. So she always claimed that ghost would play that all the time and freak her out and her bed would shake. But in that house, I know, right? I know. My poor sister, she's tormented.
Man.
But in that, so we never had any of that scary exorcism stuff again that I can remember. I mean, my parents, as I grew up, would say that I had a demon in me that was like rebellious or something, but nothing.
Right.
Nothing where people got called over again.
Right.
That's the kind that can't get exercised.
Right. Those are just attitudes.
Yeah.
But one time, my brother and I had in that house, we had a bedroom that was like connected, like Jack and Jill almost, but it had a hallway, a bathroom on one side, and a closet on the other. So from our beds, you could see each other. And we'd lay in there, and he'd tell me a story or whatever. And I was laying in there one time with him. And I saw a man walk right through my bedroom, like right across, like right in front of my bed. And it freaked me out so bad. It was like that scary stuff, the shit you see on TV where the kids are drawing scary pictures. Like, what is that? I was drawing this man over and over, like trying to see if anybody knew who he was, kind of thing.
Oh, my
Wow.
God, dude.
Wow.
And my mom, she can put things together a little differently, but she told me that she had asked the people, and the picture I had drawn was Mr. Borden, and other people had seen him walking like through their yard, but never in their house.
Holy shit.
But he was in like a suit. I still remember he had like long gray hair. I never saw his face, but he was like a nice black suit, white shirt, tie. And then, so I didn't sleep in that bedroom. I bet a year. I slept on my brother's floor. I was freaking out, man.
Wow.
I didn't want to be in there with that guy, like wake up and he's like hanging over my face or something. Like, oh no, like that's what people get murdered. They go back, right?
That's right.
Shit.
Yeah. That's what in the scary movies you watch, you say, don't go back in there.
Right. I'm not going back in.
Wow.
And then my brother, one time at that same house, same layout, he had a brother that was staying with us. I guess he had like family issues and he was staying there, but he was up on the phone talking to some girl, I guess at the foot of my brother's bed, or walks past her. I'm not really sure. And he said that there was a black woman in a maid's outfit at the foot of my bed scrubbing my floor. And it freaked him out so bad. So then I couldn't sleep in that room again for a long time because now we got maids in there cleaning.
Jesus.
Man, yeah. Personally, I could probably go with having a ghost maid doing floors and stuff. I'm not a big fan of doing my floors, but I think I could handle that now. But I would need some references probably.
That is crazy. Corey, get the
references. I would think a ghost maid probably would do a half-assed job. What does she do? But that was my last like ghost like encounter that I can remember. There may be something else later, but
Wow.
those were the ones as a kid.
That's quite a few that you had. That's pretty
Yeah,
intense,
for real.
man.
that is intense. That's a lot more than I've ever had.
Yeah.
I've had. I mean, Jeff, that last house I bought a house where this lady, her husband, doused her with gas and lit her on fire, burned her to death. And I never felt creepy in that house. Well, I didn't find out until the murder, until right before we were about to close. And I took my dogs over there because, they say they sense stuff. And they went in the room where it was burned, and they were fine. And the whole time I lived there, I never felt creepy. Sometimes in the basement, I'd feel like somebody was watching me, but
Yeah.
I think that's just...
Yeah. That's a basement.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So like that,
Yeah.
That is crazy. Yeah, I remember you telling me about, and that was your bedroom, right? Didn't that happen in your bedroom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You can Google it. It's called Judy Scrawl's killer's name in bed sheets. Yeah, I know, right? That'll make you not want to move in. That's when I brought the dogs over after I found that article.
Wow.
You would think that would be right up front. You know, you would think that. I guess maybe not. I don't know
We
how.
don't have to tell.
They have to disclose that to you, right?
No, it's only
They don't?
if you're advertising it as haunted or whatever, then you have to do that. Because I didn't tell the lady who bought it for me until like right before, and then she found out, and I was like, oh, I didn't have to tell you, and she still bought it. It's fine.
Okay. Wow.
I thought that maybe it's different state to state, but I thought that some places if it's reportedly haunted,
Right. If that means so, don't make a scene of it. Really, don't make. If you're getting haunted, don't start putting it on a show like this, and then not telling the owner.
Yeah. Right.
if you're selling. If you're not selling, please come on and tell us all about it. Or if you've sold a house that was haunted, yeah, now you can tell it. But if you're in a process, maybe you should
Right.
wait a few months. That's true.
So yeah, that's all my ghost stories, man. That's all I got.
That's cool, man.
Those are great.
Yeah. I'd say you're pretty perceptive, man. You know?
Yeah, for
to
real.
to have that kind of stuff and that many stories, man. That's intense.
That was normal for me. Like I'm telling you, the way my family and the church treated it, that's what they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what demons do.
Right.
That's why we try to go to church. Like you said, that's why you had to watch that movie.
Right. That's right.
Well, and it's interesting. It's interesting you said that that was normal. That was just the way things are. And you had when you go to school and you grow up and you realize that not everybody has a random Tuesday night exorcism, for their older sister. That's, I mean, obviously these are very weird things. We look at it as that, but you said it was normal. And for everybody else out there who's, maybe listening, everybody thinks their life for the most part is really normal and boring. And that's because you've experienced it. You know it all. You've had it happen all to you. Maybe there's 2 or 3 things that were like really cool and really awesome. And, those are the things you talk about, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, thank you for coming on and sharing your normal story.
Yeah, right.
It's a good way to say it.
That's good.
And one other thing that I think is great about the show, I said that I've known Corey for 12 years, but I had never heard any of this from him. And it's just something, people don't talk about in casual conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It takes something like this to really get you going. And I like that I got to hear that from you today, Corey. That's cool.
Go tell Noreen. She'll think I'm a weirdo.
Well,
She'll love it.
Telling Noreen thinking you're a weirdo, that's not a bad thing. I mean, that's not
No, I know. I appreciate it.
That's true.
I mean, she's married to Jeff.
That is very true. So her standards for weirdos are very high.
Or low.
Depends on how you look at it.
That's right.
Hey Barry,
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a goat sucker?
What?
Goat sucker, chupacabra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever seen one of those?
I haven't seen one personally, but I've heard about them.
Yeah, me too. If anybody's got a goat sucking story, if you got a goat sucker story, we want to hear it. If you got a Bigfoot story, we want to hear it. If you got a Loch Ness Monster story, or a Lake Champlain story, or Ogo Pogo story, or an Oingo Boingo story. That was an 80s band. Anyway, you got a weird cryptid story, we want to hear it.
I didn't even know what a cryptid was, man.
Yeah, dude, cryptids. They're like the animals that haven't been necessarily proven by science. They're the ones on the edge. They're not necessarily known animals, but they're known animals. We don't have the bodies or anything like that. So they're kind of like half myth, half story, based in reality, but still in that weird mystery area that we don't know about yet. Cryptids are fun. Well, do you have besides the one story, do you have anything else for us that or normal or otherwise that you could think of that you could share?
Not really. Jeff thinks I should share this. When I was in high school, I had some friends over. I'm not that impressed. I mean, it's weird because my mom, like I said, was always into whatever, like ghost hunts and UFOs. And she came home and she worked a little bit further out. Where I'm from is a lot of refineries and stuff. So you're in the middle of nowhere, really, down near the coast.
Yeah.
And she's like, Corey, I've been watching this light, and it's there every night, and it hovers and it moves, and it's not a star. Da da da. And so we got in the car one night, me and some friends and my mom, and she called first. Let's back up. First, she called the newspaper and said that we had found a UFO and we were going to go identify it near some beach, someplace weird, Bryan Beach or something. I don't even remember. Matagorda maybe. So we get in the car and we go down there. I don't know how the newspaper found us. My mom must have given them the location, but we met them at some gas station because this was before cell phones.
Right.
Met at some gas stations, and there it is. I mean, you could see it, and you could get closer to it, so you could tell it was something, but it wasn't it didn't move, but it stayed right there. But it's too high to be on a pole or anything.
Huh. Interesting.
And then so the paper article came out, and I'm on the front with my video camera. I guess we must have a videotape of that somewhere. I'd like to get a hold of that because my quote is in that newspaper, "We're not weird. We found a UFO." That was the quote from me.
That's great.
So, but the report came back that somebody reported, I guess some branch of government, because down there, obviously for national security, I guess it was supposed to be some kind of blimp that was doing some kind of surveillance along the coast.
Right.
That's what they always say, man.
Yeah.
Well, I know that's what they say, but that's what they said.
But that's what they
this is a blimp, man. It's there every night. It's totally a blimp. Just forget what you saw.
National security. Forget it. So, yeah.
That's great.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, man. I don't know. I mean,
is there a picture of you in the newspaper?
Yeah, it's just at the top of the headline where it's like a little a leader to get you to the second page. It's a picture like a cutout of my head holding the video recorder, and it says "Local residents spot UFO."
That's awesome.
That is pretty cool.
I have it in a yearbook somewhere. I'm gonna have to dig that out.
Nice.
I can't remember
Take a picture of it and send it to Hub, and we'll put it up on the Instagram and stuff if that's okay. So
yeah, I'll see if I can find it.
that'd be pretty cool.
It was an exciting night though when you're looking for UFOs.
Oh yeah.
When you found one.
Yeah.
It was an unidentified flying object.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. That's what it is.
Yeah, and and that's the thing. Another thing we've talked about is how, excuse me, in our general area and the Midwest, in the west part of the country, definitely, but in our general area, you see all types of stuff, all types of lights in the sky that that you don't know what they are. You learn what a satellite looks like. You learn what meteorites. You learn the regular kind of what planes look like and helicopters. But you often see things in the sky that do not behave like any of that other stuff. And by definition, they are UFOs. And all three of us, have seen weird things in the sky. Hub and I saw one together when we were in freshman in college. And that was we told that story earlier in an earlier episode, but it was a weird experience. We certainly weren't expecting to see it, and then there it was. So
yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Well, the only thing you can do is identify it. That's the best thing you can do for it, right?
And then call the newspaper and tell them you're not weird.
Yeah.
So.
And you can do that. Slow news day.
Well, hey, Corey, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, no problem, man. This was fun.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, we really do. That was great, Corey. Great stories.
And if you have any recovered memories or any more new weird experiences, feel free to come back anytime. So
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Hey everybody, you're listening to the What's Your Weird Story podcast. You probably knew that already because you're listening or downloaded to the episode off of your iTunes or your Spotify or whatever place you get your podcast from. We want to thank you for listening. We also want to remind you to like us, follow us, subscribe to us, make sure that you get your new podcast episode every week. We'd also like to ask you to rate and review so that we can grow our audience and we can have more friends, we can have more stories. So thanks for listening to What's Your Weird Story.
So I have this great idea. I've come up with a great idea. It's my idea. And
is it?
Yeah. you guys kind of wanted to steal it. I'm still going to take credit for it. Okay. I see a crowd. I see a live crowd. I'm just throwing this. I'm just spitballing. Okay, I see a live crowd.
I'm listening.
Okay, I see fermenters. I see grain. I smell beer, and I've got this overwhelming sensation that people are going to want to share some stories.
This picture's becoming clearer in my mind.
Okay,
interesting. What kind of stories would they want to share in that particular setting?
Like, hold my beer story. You know what I mean? Like that kind of a thing.
Oh yeah. Like this one time I had a little too much to drink and stories.
Puke happened.
Yeah. Well, more than puke. Yeah. So what Barry's talking about is we are coming this in October. We are doing our first live event, and it'll be October 19th, 2019, at the Enid Brewing Company in Enid, Oklahoma, where Barry is one of the brewmeisters.
Yes.
And what we're going to be doing a live podcasting experiment event to where we have people, you listeners, and also us, host, come up and tell short, funny stories about when maybe you had too much to drink. So I've had
some great stories. I know you guys have had some great stories.
I think I could probably think of one or two.
Yeah. I mean, I've only got. I've never, whatever. But yeah, no, it'll be fun because there's definitely a lot of material to work with. But we also want to hear other people's stories. We want to hear them, and so this is a call for you guys, to the listeners, to maybe to organize your thoughts around your own particular beer story, and come and tell us, and tell an audience, and then tell the world. And we anticipate it to be a lot of fun. So what we're envisioning. What Barry's envisioning, because this is all
remember, it's my idea, fuckers.
What Barry's envisioning is that it'll be kind of like an open night mic, where you pre-register, and we'll have as many people pre-register that we can, and you will limit your story to about roughly 5 minutes, which is really a long time to tell a story. So, you may be under 5, you may go a little over. It's cool. But you come up to the mic when we call your name, and you get up there and you tell your story about, your funny story about when you had too much to drink, and or maybe something related. So we ask that those who come up keep it relatively PG-13.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need you to get too explicit about any of your exploits. You can tell us those later, but not in this public forum.
Yeah, it is all ages.
Yeah, and so it's an all ages brewery pub area, so we want to be respectful. We want to be able to do it again if it's good,
Yeah.
So there's that. And so we'll be we'll have you tell your stories, and then, depending on how many people we have volunteer, if we're going to, try to do it for a good amount of time, and we're going to record it. And we're also, if we have the time, we'll have people just come out of the audience, and as long as you're not too drunk to tell your story and, get lost while you're telling your own story, it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to kick it off. We all have stories, several stories that we can tell.
Yeah.
And we'll initiate it, and then Barry's idea is that it's going to be a lot of fun.
If it isn't a lot of fun, it was your idea. Okay?
And if it's almost out, that's what I get.
No, it will be fun. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and and beyond, you don't have to tell a story. We want to hear loads of stories, but if you just want to come out and listen to the stories, they'll be great, because you're going to get at least half an hour to an hour of the three of us telling stories, and you sampling all the fine locally produced beers there at the Union Brewing Company.
Yes.
And there's a variety of which that Barry can tell you about.
Yeah. We have a great variety of stuff, and we have some seasonal beers that we put on tap, and that time of the year is going to be in October, so we'll have our Oktoberfest, which is a fantastic beer.
That sounds great, man. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
and with it being that so close to winter, will there be a pumpkin spice beer? Because I know that's a lot of people.
Probably so, man. Yeah, we're probably going to do that. We'll have a stout. We're going to do an English bitter. We'll have an English bitter on draft, which is one of my favorite all-time beers. And just good fall weather beer. We'll also have a couple of glasses of wine, different wines that we serve. So it's just not beer. We've got we've got a little bit of everything. So a couple of ciders.
I know you guys have soda for the non-drinkers and for the kids,
yes,
right?
Yes, and there will be food trucks are usually available for the night.
And you can bring those in.
Yep, you bring whatever you want in. Go out and get you some food, bring it in. We don't care. Enjoy it, and drink some beers and hang out and laugh and have a good time.
Yeah. And if somebody's coming up from Kingfisher, you go to El Charro and pick me up a number 11. No con carne, just cheese sauce on that cheese enchilada. And then you get free admission.
I love it, man. I love it.
You might just have 10 or 12 of those show up, buddy.
Okay, man.
I'm complaining, man.
I got to say, the funniest thing is when Hubbard sent a group text message of plates that he was eating from El Charro, sending it to Adam, enticing him, and
I think every time I go, I send him a shot of that number 11, and I know what it does to it.
Yeah, it's pure pornography.
Gets him rock hard for sure.
But no, I think this night's going to be great, guys. Usually when you go to a bar, you're sitting with some people that you know, and you know all of their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, on a night like this, you're going to get to know a lot of people that you've never met before, and you're going to hear some, I think, really cool stories, because there's a lot of cool stories being told in bars, but it's never told to the whole bar. Yeah. So I think this is really going to be a great opportunity to really hear some cool stuff. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's a great point.
I'm excited. I'm flying down, from Cincinnati there, and get OKC, and probably crash at Hub's for the night before, and then
you can crash wherever you want,
and I crash. I'll see. I just won't crash a car.
Yeah, don't do that, buddy. I've seen that happen a few times. When you're behind.
Last time I had a car crash, I was 2 years old. And then, that's not true. I almost was in a car crash today, but it wasn't my fault. Somebody stopped at a yield sign off of a freeway exit, and I literally came inches from hitting them. Damn. I mean, and the girl didn't even know that she almost got plowed from behind. Wow. Which sounds a lot worse when you say it like that, and I apologize. But anyway,
man.
Yeah, that's the kind of that's we don't want to hear too much explicit talk like that. What's your beer story?
Yeah, let's not turn this into what's the Me Too story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We don't need to get too blue or anything like that. We got to keep it relatively clean, like I said. So anyway, this is what we're doing in October. It's going to be a nice, cool time of the year. It's going to be there in Enid, Oklahoma. We're probably gonna have some prizes for our storytellers.
Yeah.
We may, if we have, depending on the response, we may have some T-shirts to sell. We'll be giving out like stickers and cool stuff. So there'll be a little bit of swag. There'll be a little incentive to come. Besides being, hearing some good stories and telling some good stories.
Yeah.
And being on the podcast
and looking at all three of our hot asses.
That's right. Yeah, I'm down about 20 pounds right now, so you'll be amazed. I don't know if you'll be amazed. Last time I was home, I was even skinnier than I am now. So.
I can't wait to see that ass.
Yeah, I know. So many times I wake up in the middle of the night and I'll turn around and Jeff's just there in the
licking his chops.
Yeah. Yep. and Noreen's behind him with the camera.
So what's the date on this again?
Saturday, October 19th.
October 19th.
2019 at the Enid Brewing Company in Enid, Oklahoma. It's at 126 South Independence Avenue. Come out and we'll probably start. We don't know for sure just yet, but I would say probably around like 9. We got more people. We could start earlier. And the more the merrier, and the greater it'll be, and the more fun it'll be. And so we really hope to see a lot of friendly faces. We hope to see a lot of new faces. Yeah. So it'll be fun, and maybe we'll give a prize for the furthest traveled.
Hey,
if somebody comes in from.
Are you excluded from?
I am excluded from that. I will be excluded from that. Okay. That would. Oh, you know what? That would be the furthest traveled. Should be like a flight of beer, because then it's kind of a pun. So, but I don't know. Shooting from the hip here,
of course.
But yeah, so it's more details will come out, but this is the basic general idea, and we're really looking forward to it. Just again, us getting to hang out with each other will be just fun enough as it is. We're going to do it there on stage, and we want to hear from you guys, and we invite everybody to come out and hey, let us know. We got a Facebook page dedicated to this. What's your beer story? What's your weird story presents What's Your Beer Story? And we'll be check for the social media explosion. We keep putting stuff out on our Instagram and Facebook and Twitter when I remember, and that's about it really. We don't have anything else because that's what we go. But and in the meantime, we want to hear your weird stories on the What's Your Weird Story podcast, our regular store podcast.
Yeah, give us your weird stuff. Give us your weird stuff. We want it. We want it bad.
Yeah, we need it.
We do. We want it. We crave it. We want it real bad.
Making it weird. Yeah, all right.
Making it weird.
Hey, that's a nice T-shirt you got on there.
Oh, thanks, dude. It's brand new. Do you like that? It's one of the official What's Your Weird Story T-shirts.
Where'd you get that?
It's funny that you ask. I just got it off the brand new Spreadshirt.com site for the What's Your Weird Story podcast. There's no www. You just go straight to shop.spreadshirt.com/what's without the apostrophe WHATS hyphen WEIRD-STORY, and that'll take you right there.
I mean, you can never own enough clothing.
Well, that's true, Barry. There's T-shirts for the ladies, because they're cut differently. There's hoodies, which are really cool. There's 2 different kinds of hoodies, and there's also tote bags, so you can tote your stuff.
That's so cool, man.
So if you guys go out to spreadshirt.com, What's Your Weird Story? Currently, there are 2 designs, but there will be more going up very soon. So just keep your eyes out for that. And if you decide to get one of our shirts, tag yourself on Instagram to ours or Facebook. Show your love. Show us what you got. Let's see your true colors.
Wow. I'm super, super excited that we finally got a exorcist story. An exorcism story. I mean, I did just. That's one of those stories that is like a white whale in my world. To find somebody that's actually had that happen to them or someone close to them. That's just great. Weird, but great.
Yeah, that's a total bucket list story, and I mean, man. I think, the whole time I was telling it, I was just picturing, the scene in the movie and just all the commotion and all the craziness and just how traumatizing that would be for a 5 or 6-year-old kid to witness.
Yeah. And you didn't know any of that. You didn't know any of that about him, right?
No. I don't think you really, really know a person. Yeah. Until they come on What's Your Weird Story podcast.
Yeah, right. That's
no kidding. It's true. It reveals a whole other side to a person that it's part of it's the hidden part of their selves. And then that's what we're encouraging. That's what we're doing. We're like, hey, come show somebody else this weird story that you've been carrying around, or in Corey's case, this totally normal story that you've had carrying around. That's not at all. And that should be shared, and it's really cool because you get to know somebody, and the listeners get to know that somebody. I guess if not personally, they at least get to know their experience. This weird experience that they've had, and that's a vulnerability, but also it's a strength because it's a really cool thing that you're like, hey, I'll tell you about this. I'll open myself up to tell you guys, and then tell the world. And it's awesome that we get to do that. We get to hear that. We get to experience that all together. So
yeah, and he had a lot of good stories, a lot of good ones.
He really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of bang for our buck on that one. I guess, for lack of a better term. And we talked a little bit off air afterwards, and he had some more really interesting stories that we're not going to broadcast because they're maybe a little too personal or something of that nature.
Or something, yes. They're a whole other realm of weird.
It is a whole other realm of weird. And we can't go into it any further than that. But those are great. And, and we really appreciate Corey coming on. And didn't he kind of corner you, Jeff, to say, how come you haven't had me on it? How come you haven't asked me to be on your podcast?
He really did. He heard about it, and but just like I said, I was like, Corey, I didn't know you had any weird stories. You've got to come to me. So
yeah, you were always the normal guy, Corey.
Right.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, he had stories. He thought we were. Well, he was going to tell us a whole batch of other stories, but then after he listened to an episode and kind of saw what we were about, he did just happen to have all those wonderful ghost and exorcism stories. So what a find! It was great.
Fantastic. And who as a young kid, who would you tell that to? I know that for him in that time, it was normal to him, but anyone outside of that, I don't know as a young kid who you would tell that, oh, well, my sister had an exorcism this weekend, and everybody got a bowl of popcorn and hung out. You know what I mean? Like nobody really would. I mean, I don't know who you would tell that to. So
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, interesting.
And there's really, like he said, he thought it was normal for the longest time because probably, if he did try to tell kids at school about it, they're not going to know what the hell he's talking about.
Exactly.
They're not going to say, "Whoa, that's crazy, man! I never knew that was going on over there."
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't have probably been until he was old enough to talk to people that had some idea what an exorcism was that he found out that is not something that happens in everyone's household as they're growing up. So,
right.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
Regardless, it sounded like a fun house to grow up in.
Yeah.
That
and then
really
the other
true.
house too, the Borden house.
Yeah.
With the house that Milk built, the dairy empire that is Borden. That's a big brand out.
Big time. Big time.
And that's just to see the ghost there as well. I mean, and I wonder if it's something that as he got older, if it's just like children are more perceptive of these things, it seems, and or can be. And I wonder if it's just kind of something that went away because he said he had this other place where his new house where he fully expected it to be haunted,
right?
But there was nothing.
That's what I was wondering too. That's a good point that you bring that up. I always think that if you're perceptive, if you have that much happen to you as a young kid, that there's something about you, but maybe over time some of it wears off as you grow older and you sort of get that sort of hardened shell that adults do.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more refined in your way of thinking, and that's a good point. But the fact that he had all that happen, I think he would probably know if he had any sort of inclination of something like that happening.
Yeah. I was kind of, as he was talking, I wondered too, with the activities that his mother and grandmother were, participating in, it was kind of like an open door policy for a ghost.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that facilitated, more of an ease for them to come in and, or more of a, just making him more aware of the possible things that were going on around and kind of looked at things, with wider open eyes.
Right.
Well, I definitely, it definitely could have been an open door kind of thing because, if you go looking for trouble or you go looking for, something weird, chances are you're gonna find it, or it's gonna find you. Not all the time, but it's. You could be inviting the experience. So I don't know. It's I would love to see if he could find either the UFO videotape or any of the audio stuff. I wonder if any of that has anything on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could just, in my mind, I'm picturing a small house with a grandma and a mom and just listening on an old cassette recorder, the one that's like the size of a shoebox,
Yeah, with
and just sitting over
6D
there.
batteries.
Yeah. And they're sitting there and they're both chain smoking cigarettes, drinking Dr. Pepper because it's Texas.
Yeah.
Chain smoking cigarettes and just kind of leaning over, and listening to the, see if they could hear any ghosts or anything like that. That's just,
I kind of got to think that they had to have had some positive recordings for them to do it as much as he said they were doing it for them to do it because after a while you're just gonna be like, this shit ain't working.
Yeah.
You
gotta have
unless you do have some hits. Yeah.
But then again, you say that, but it's often the quest to find something that drives people, and even if you don't have hits or anything like that, you still are trying to do it because, think about all the people who are out looking for UFOs and never seeing, or who are out looking for Bigfoot.
That's true. That's true.
And just people that are out searching, but we just, and we have, human beings have that inquisitive nature, and so who knows, maybe they did hear stuff. I mean, and he said his mom was into, black magic or whatever, something along the lines of that. And that could have been another way that there was a porthole, something,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, all of it, adds up to make sense to where these things would occur if, all this was happening. So,
Yeah.
And it culminated with the exorcism, and I wonder if there's more. It's almost too bad that he was so young, to probably not have a lot of more developed memories of that.
Yeah.
Other than the ones that he did, which were obviously very impactful. So
Yeah. He's still telling the story to this day. So, great stuff. We appreciate him coming on. And, anybody else that has stories like that, or maybe it touched on something that you recall, that something that happened to you in your childhood, or maybe something more recent, even just, think about reaching out to us and getting on here and telling your story.
Mm-hmm. Your normal ass weird stories. All right. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. Thanks again, Corey, for coming on and sharing those awesome stories. Thank you, Jeff, for tuning in from, or joining us rather, from on vacation with the family there, taking a little bit of time out to help us with the, getting us all together and coordinated with your buddy.
It was great to have a little break from the swimming pool, man. I could reapply my suntan lotion, go back out confident again.
And you're in the prime spot for UFOs, man. So,
oh yeah, man. Oh yeah.
Gotta go, dude. You gotta go do that. You gotta.
Well, we may have to look into that UFO tour. Noreen is very excited about it, so we'll see what's up.
Good.
But hey, and you know what happens if you go on this tour? You know what could happen, dude. You know what could happen?
What's that?
You get around to some anal probing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Lube up.
Yeah, that would be very exciting. Money well spent.
Hey, it's vacation. You know what I mean? It's vacation.
That's true. What happens in Sedona on a UFO tour stays in Sedona on a UFO tour.
Oh, make sure Noreen doesn't listen to this one. All right. Well, I think we should probably wrap it up now, since it's maybe the last time Jeff's with us. So
Well, thanks again, guys. This has been great, and thank you, Corey.
Yes, thanks, Corey. Thanks everybody for listening. Be safe. I can barely even remember it. Be safe.
Be weird.
As always, if you have a weird story, we want to hear it.
If you have a lot of them, we want to hear them all.
We can't do this podcast without your invaluable contributions.
Whether it's sharing your stories,
Listening,
rating,
and spreading the word about the podcast. Thanks for listening. Till next time, be safe.
be weird.
The stories presented on the What's Your Weird Story podcast are, to our knowledge, true experiences that our guests have had. We can't take the time to research all claims made, and besides, it's just not as fun.